Samwise Gamgee had to lose Bill the pony. He was all sad about it. And so the word pony was just in my mind. And then, yeah, I had to think through some names. Pod something. PodPony came up. The domain was $1. So that was pretty great. And then as time went on, branding agencies have said, oh, well, you traversed the wilderness of the digital frontier. That's your brand. And they've got some really great stories they've put together. But really, it's not as sexy as that. What happened was at Carson, as time went on, I did come back to the office after the pandemic, and I was able to work it out with my team where I was probably only working 4 to 6 hours a week. Not something you really want to brag about when people start looking at budgets.
Right.
And I went up to my boss and other leaders and said, yeah, I'm not really working that hard with this. So we can tell you play a lot of ping pong. And I said, that's right. Because it clicked at a certain point. I realized this is the thing. It's podcasting, it's the media. I've learned enough. I understand now how these different marketers work at Carson. I understand how to do their job, the time it takes to do their jobs. And I've got a really nice little strategic business unit built within the marketing team. I said, this is how much I want to make. I do a lot better when I'm paid on performance. So I would like to run an initiative for podcasting here at the business. And that's something we talked about. But really, if I wanted to do it, I realized, oh, this is something I'm going to have to go out and do myself. And so with Carson at the time, when I realized it all clicked, I realized, okay, this is the thing. If I want to go, I should probably do it myself because Carson's not a podcast business. And so eventually, but I also knew at the time, I didn't know anything about running my own business. And it was terrifying working for someone like Ron Carson, who's built an amazingly huge business. It's intimidating to say, I'm not that. I can't build that overnight. So I wanted to work for an agency to see what does it really take to run something from the ground up. And there's a friend of mine in town named Johnny Sandquist who I got in touch with and said, can I basically learn from you for a year to see what this looks like? And gave me an opportunity, left Carson, went to Three Crowns, learned what it took to be at an agency, to run an agency. And then after about 9 months to a year, said, I think I'm ready to do this. Jumped all in, went to an event called Future Proof to advertise, hey, we're here. Blew up overnight, which was terrifying because I meant to entrepreneur this thing. And then had to start hiring people. I was okay at sales and marketing, understood how to run the operations of this small business unit, but
leading a team.
Yeah, it took a team, and I'm terrible at hiring. So lots of turnover really early. And I told our current clients at the time, because we had lost a few in the first quarter of that year. And I said, it's clear that operationally we're not where we need to be. So I'm not going to focus on any biz dev this year. I'm just going to focus on you. So if you all decide to let me go at the end of the year, then all right, we don't have a business anymore, which we had a fun run trying it. But if you give me this year, we're going to really, really work at this to make it better. And so we only ended up losing one other client at the end of that year. And it wasn't for anything bad. They just ended up deciding they wanted to grow their media internally. But we ended up hiring the right people and an amazingly talented crew of folks here at PodPony who actually make this thing happen. And yeah, since then, now we are back in growing mode, and we do podcasts, educational videos, and travel the country. People come here, and it's been a really, really awesome journey. But I had to really step back early on and say, for this to work, I can't do what I'm naturally, I think, okay at, which is sales and marketing. We've got to actually lean into this really tough stuff operationally, find the right people, do all the right things, build the right boat. Otherwise, we're not. Actually had another good friend in the industry, Dr. Preston Cherry, who was one of our first clients here, and said, if you don't work this stuff out, this is probably within our first month, you won't have a business by the end of your year. And I took it to heart, and we worked on all of those operational things that we were really, really inefficient at. We either outsourced it or we worked on it internally and focused. Everything was built around process, more so than the marketing, more so than operations. And we take that to heart now when we have advisors come in and say, I think I need a podcast. I said, yeah, actually, you need a CRM before you work with us. And so understanding where your goals are, and for us, when we had to find, well, what is it we want to be? Where do we want to grow? How big do we want to grow? And you work back from there, and then you build a boat to accommodate that. And maybe over time you build a bigger boat. But those were the things I had to learn early on with doing this business. And to be quite frank, we're only 2 years into this thing. I'm still learning. So if anyone's got great tips, feel free to send stuff my way. But we're growing. It's been a lot of fun. And working with folks like yourself has just made this the most fun job I could ever ask for.
I appreciate so much that you pulled the curtain back on the growth that you had to do in order to get here. And also, as a part of that, the realization that you had to let go of something that you felt you were good at in order to wrangle the thing that needed to happen in order to make your business work. And from an entrepreneur standpoint, I believe that's the difference maker in business for someone is, are you willing to, and then can you actually execute on growing in the ways that you need to in order for your business to survive? And that's really, really admirable. So congratulations. Is there a hope for you to get back to that, or have you changed through this process to a point where you're happy about who you are and what you're doing, and how has that changed you? So obviously you had to change, and then how did that change you going forward?
Yeah. Well, praise God, we're back to biz dev mode and we are promoting ourselves. But what I didn't anticipate out of the plans I had built out, a lot of our best leads come directly out of referrals. And thankfully we get referrals. Our current clients, our PodPony partners that have saddled up with us, a lot of them I consider friends at this point, because we do go on site, we film with them, we get to know them, the ins and outs, how we can make something unique. And those weren't things we had when we first started this. And so by taking a step back and looking in the mirror, which was terrifying, by the way, my family and I had been eminent domained when I just left Carson. And so I was thinking, oh, okay. And I just left Carson. I went to Three Crowns. I'm sorry. I left Carson, went to Three Crowns. After leaving Three Crowns and going out on my own, I was eminent domain out of my house. I before really leaning all in on PodPony, I took a little bit of time and went on a vacation with my family, came back from that vacation with a letter saying, you have basically this much time to get out of your house. We're going to give you a check for it, but you need to find somewhere else to live. And so having that, seeing this business wasn't going the way I wanted it to go, and, I have a family counting on this thing working. For me, as someone who is a firm believer that God's got a plan for everything in this world, said, okay, Jesus, this is you. So the first thing I had to come to grips with was let go and let God, because that's not something that in my own life I'm very good at. And a buddy of mine said, as comfortable as I was at Carson, said, this is going to be the best thing for you because your faith isn't great. And so not to get too preachy here, but that was the first thing I had to do, is stop looking in the mirror and looking inward for how much I could elevate this thing, and just have faith that things were going to work out. And even though it was really hard to hire good creatives, I said, you know what? I'm not going to try to go out and find someone. God's going to bring this person along. And that was one of the biggest things. We needed a great person who could run media here, because I was starting to do account management. And I needed a great person for project management. I needed a great person for all these things. So taking a step back, losing your house right as you're going all into a startup, one of the most terrifying things you can imagine. Sole breadwinner here, and that was just terrifying moment.